Hi, this is Ed from NBOS, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can add grids to your map. Now, if you remember our map from the first tutorial, let's add some grids to it. The first thing you want to do is you want to go up to Map Setup, and this will tell you the size of the map. In this case here we have a map its size is 500 by 500 miles. We need to know that so that when we go to size our grids we make them appropriately. So we'll press OK. Now let's go up to Map, Grids, and you can see the Grid Setup window. Now what we're going to do is we're simply going to add some simple square grids. So select square. We'll type in 25 by 25 and press OK. And you can see that square grids are placed on your map. Now if you zoom in, you can see the grids get larger. They scale accordingly, and they stay the same size no matter what. They stay the same dimension no matter what zoom level you're at. Let's add some hex grids now. So we're going to select Grid Setup. You can also use this toolbar button. And we're going to select Hex. Now the thing with hex grids is the hex width and height are different. So what you want to do is you want to type in the width again, and it'll automatically calculate the height for you. And when you press OK, there's your hex grids. Now let's go up and see a dot grid. Now a dot grid is a lot like a square grid in that the size is the same, wide and tall. The difference is it only puts a dot at the intersection where the grid would be. And these are useful as visual cues, and when you want to use the snapping features, the point snapping features of Fractal Mapper, but you don't want the actual grid to interfere with your view of the map. And you can see, you may not be able to see it in the video, but there's small dots at regular increments. And there's also what's called an offset square grid. And this staggers, this is like a square grid, but it staggers every other row. So if we press OK, you can see how they look. And some gamers use this as sort of a hex alternative. Some games use this as their default grid, while other people just simply prefer to use these. Now there's several options. Let's go back to our hex grid. There's several options here that you can see. First is you can select the color of the grid. So let's make our grids red. And you can see we have red grids. You can also adjust the transparency of the grid. So if we go back to black, and we'll just slide this back down to here. And what that will do is that will create grids that are semi-transparent. And so the background will show below them. You can also number your grids, as is typical. You see that in war games. So we're just going to select number the grids, and then we'll leave it at Arial, and we'll make our label size 5 miles. And what that'll mean is that the height of the font being used will span 5 miles on your map. And here you can see the numbers that each hex is numbered now. You can adjust the location. So for example, if you want the numbers centered, select centered, and the numbers will be centered in your hexes. And this works also for square grids and the other grid types. You can also, we'll go back to bottom, you can also define how you want the grids displayed, whether they're below all the objects on your map or whether they're laid over all the objects on your map. Right now, the grid is over all the objects. But if we select below and press OK, you can see that the grids kind of flow underneath the objects, and the objects block out the grid. So it's your choice, whichever way you want to display them. And that's basically all there is to adding grids. Now in future tutorials I'll show you how you can have more than one kind of grid on a map by using the different grid fill capabilities.